Good afternoon, my grade 7 students. This is your science teacher, and I purposely made this video hoping that in any manner it would help you understand the contents of your module as well as help you in answering the activities or questions found in your module. Before we start, I would like to remind you that this video is exclusively made for you. And now, before we go over your module, let us go over your weekly home learning plan. What is this weekly home learning plan? This is important because it will serve as a guide for you in going over your module. So in science, I prepared this weekly home learning plan. Remember that Module 4 contains the activities for weeks 4 and 5 scheduled on October 26 and November 3. Here, October 26, you already submitted this, and then November 3, which is supposed to be submitted on November 3, which is supposed to be submitted on November 23. Now, for this module or week 5, what are you supposed to do? First, you're going to review the discussion part on page 6. That is what's in it for substances and mixtures. After reviewing, you are going to answer assessment number 1, activity number 2, assessment 2, what I have learned, and another activity on page 14. That is what I can do. And lastly, you are going to assess learning by answering the post-assessment on page 15 and 16 of your module. Now, for further understanding, you can do the activity on page 17. This is the crossword puzzle, but you may not submit it on November 23. This is only for your enhancement. That is why it is an additional activity. I hope this is clear for everybody. After taking a look at our weekly home learning plan, we go to the next, which is the answer sheet. I prepared an answer sheet for Module 4 and 5. However, you already submitted Module 4. I hope you are going to make another answer sheet for Module 5. But if an answer sheet is not provided, then please provide your own answer sheet and you organize it. How do you organize? You write the week number or module number, then you write the subject. For example, English, science, math, or what. Then you write your name in all the subjects. Please do not forget. And you label all the activities. For example, what I know, what's more. This is important. You have to organize your work. Why? It is because if your teachers receive your envelope, they are going to sort, your advisors will sort them out. For example, this is for math, this is for science, this is for English. Then, if you did not write your name, your teacher or your advisor will again write your name there. Juan de la Cruz, week 4, Juan de la Cruz, week 5, Juan de la Cruz, week 5. Then after that, she's going to give your answer sheets to the designated subject teacher. So please organize your work in order to ease the burden for the teacher to write your names and to write the week number and so on and so forth. And thank you for organizing your work. So that is the importance of answer sheet. Now we go to the last, which is your module. And we are now in module 5. I hope by this time you have gotten used to the new normal and you have embraced your modules. You have loved reading. So what is all about module 5? Module 5 talks about substances and mixtures. Specifically, we go to the table on here, matter. What is matter? Matter is anything that occupies space and has mass. And you already read that it can be classified into two, whether it can be physically separated or not. What are the physical means of separation? Just to give you an example, you have evaporation, decantation, and filtration, right? Now, if it can be separated physically, then you call it a mixture. If the matter cannot be separated physically, then it is called a pure substance. Now, mixtures can be classified or has two categories. What are they? What are the two categories of mixtures? You have homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. They are classified based on whether the composition is uniform or not. So from the word homogeneous mixture, it means homo. Okay, the word homo means uniform, the same. So the composition is the same throughout the mixture. On top and then at the bottom, the composition is the same. And they can be or they cannot be visually distinguished. They cannot be easily seen. Okay, they cannot be visually distinguished. For example, I'm going to add water or I'm going to place water and milk together or water and sugar, then stir it. The mixture, okay, the result will be a mixture and the components will be evenly distributed. Okay, on top and at the bottom. So the composition will now be homogeneous. Homo means uniform, okay, throughout the mixture. On the other hand, for a heterogeneous mixture, from the word hetero, the composition will be different. Different is hetero. Okay, different throughout the mixture. It can be visually distinguished. For example, I'm going to mix water and stone. You can still visually distinguish the water and then the stone using your eyes. So that is heterogeneous mixture. The composition is not uniform, right? Next, for pure substances, they also can be classified into two. You have compounds and elements. If they can be chemically decomposed or broken into simpler form, they are called compound. But if they cannot, then they are called elements. Remember, if you're going to break down compounds, they will now form elements. And then if you are going to combine an element plus another element, for example, sodium plus chlorine is equal to a compound which is called our table salt or the salt. That is, or those are the two categories of pure substances. Now, we go to heterogeneous mixtures. Heterogeneous mixtures can again be classified into two. You have colloids and suspensions. What is the best example of colloids? Colloids' best example is you have the glue. While suspensions, you have clay mixed in water. Okay, so that if you have seen glue, it's sticky and it cannot pass through a semi-permeable membrane. So that is a characteristic of a colloid. While, or on the other hand, for suspensions, there are still parts that are suspended at the bottom. For example, you have the water and clay. The water will turn muddy. However, clay will now still be suspended at the bottom of this or at the bottom of the container or the jar, for example. That is the difference between colloids and suspensions. Now, it is also important to go over the properties of mixtures. Of course, from our discussion, we can say that there are some key, or we are just going to give the key properties of mixtures, that they can be separated physically. What are those physical means of separating mixtures? Just like you have evaporation, filtration, and decantation. So that is a property of mixture. And also, if you're going to mix the components of mixtures, there is no chemical force that will act between the substances that are mixed. Okay, they still exist together, and then they retain their properties or individual properties. So that is another property of mixture. Also, there is no chemical formula for the combination of mixture. So there is no chemical formula for the combination of matter in a mixture. For example, if you're going to mix acetic acid and water in order to form our vinegar, which is the mixture, there is no chemical formula. Unlike if you're going to mix an element plus an element in order to form a compound, okay? Just like salt, you're going to mix uh, sodium and chlorine in order to form our table salt. So there is a formula, or you have also water, okay? You're going to form water by mixing hydrogen and oxygen. So there is a chemical formula for that. So those are some of the key properties of mixtures. After that, here is a representation of mixtures. Heterogeneous mixtures, you look at the components. They can be visually separated. By just looking at them, you can now distinguish the components. These are the stones, and then these are the particles of water, because they are not evenly distributed. Unlike for homogeneous mixtures, sorry for the wrong spelling here, please remove the other O here. The particles or the components are evenly distributed so that they cannot be visually distinguished. They are uniform all throughout the mixture. There. And then you have heterogeneous mixture. We already explained that. This is an example of a suspension, while this is an example of a colloid. And that's it for our review. You have there, most food is a combination. Okay, most food that we eat is a combination of different things. Just like, for example, when you cook at home, what are the ingredients? So those are what you combine, right, together, and you're going to form a mixture. For example, you're going to make a rice wine. What are the components of that rice wine? Is rice wine a heterogeneous or a homogeneous mixture? If you can separate the components easily physically, then it is a heterogeneous mixture. If not, then it is a homogeneous mixture. After the discussion part, we move on to the assessment. So this is supposed to be done. This is what you are supposed to do. After reading the module, you are going to answer. You do not go directly to the key answer and then just copy, write all what you can see in the key answer here. Write everything, copy. No. For example, if the key answer says the answers may vary, and then you are going to copy it also here. Answers may vary. It is not supposed to be. You read first before answering. And you answer first before going to the key answer in order to check whether or not you got the correct answer. If you go directly to the key answer, you're not fooling us, but you are fooling yourself. Before you made fun of your teacher, you made fun of yourself first. Now, I'm just going to explain the questions or how you're going to answer the questions. First one, what are the two categories of mixtures? After that, you're going to explain. So you write there letter A, first category, we discussed that already, and then explain. And then letter B, second category, then explain. Just 1 or 2 sentences. Number 2, what are the key properties of mixtures? We already reviewed those. You just write the key properties. It is not supposed to be so long because important properties. It says they're key properties of mixtures only. Okay, next, you are going to give 2 examples of mixtures that you use at home and identify the components. When you cook, when you clean, when you do the laundry, what else? Anything that you use at home, any mixture that you use at home, you write them. Number 1, what is that mixture? And then you give the components. What is the solute? And then what is the solvent? What are the ingredients? What makes up that mixture that you use? You're going to write them. Then number 2, or letter A, and then you have letter B because you're going to give 2 examples. Next, is vinegar a mixture? You just say yes or no. Then why? You go back to the properties of mixtures. It is a mixture because blah, blah, blah. It is not a mixture because blah, blah, blah. Number 5, is it possible for mixtures to be separated physically? We explained this already. Okay, is it possible? Yes or no? If yes, you explain. And if not, you also explain. That is how you answer assessment number 1. Then we go to assessment or activity number 2. In here, you are just going to check whether, or you're going to write why if it is a mixture, and N if it is not a mixture. These are all mixtures that you use at home, right? Examples of mixtures that you use at home. Bagoong, until, okay, all of these ones, you might have eaten them or you might have drank them. Okay. Then you are going to classify whether it is a homogeneous or heterogeneous mixture. Then you are going to give the constituents or the components. Which one is the solute and which one is the solvent? What are the ingredients? What are the components? You write them down here. After that, you tell me what you have learned. Today, I learned that number 1, substances are blank. You define what are substances. And then mixtures are blank. What are mixtures? It's defining substances and mixtures. Next, we also learned that substances are classified as blank and blank. There are 2 classifications of substances. Also, mixtures. There are 2 classifications of mixtures. Those are what you're going to write here. Substances are classified as blank, and mixtures are classified as blank and blank. Number 3, you give me an example of a substance. What are examples of substances? Here, 1 and 2. And then you give me examples of mixtures again, 1 and 2. You may copy from your module the examples given in your module. Okay. And after that, you make an essay. What I can do. It's about COVID-19. So this pandemic, okay, these are your guide questions. Your first questions, your first reaction about COVID-19. And then how did you feel when you were restricted to go out or when you were not allowed to go out? So you are going to make an essay. Not so long. And what is the title? The title of your essay will be COVID-19 Mixture. After that, you're going to answer the post-assessment. It's your post test. You're going to write the answers or the letter of the correct answer. You choose, you read, and analyze before answering. For number 11 to 15, you're just going to fill this out. Bagoong, is it homogeneous or heterogeneous? Is it solution, colloid, or suspension? You write it here. And lastly, here, you may do this activity, but do not submit, or you may not do it. This is just for your enhancement. This is for further understanding. So what are you going to submit? Only those that I told you to submit and no more. After that, you may look at the key answer or answer key. If your answers are correct, it's not the other way around. Others go directly to this portion and then just copy. You're fooling yourself. Right? Thank you very much for listening to this video. And if you have questions, just feel free to contact your teacher because the number or yes messenger of your teachers are given in your packet or in your learning packets. And I hope you learned something from this video, and thank you very much.